Yeah, we can.
Yes, I can. Can everyone else see it?
Yep.
Perfect.
Ms. Deline, I think it will be better because whoever is speaking will be looking at the script, right? So whoever is not speaking can present. Like if you're speaking, I will present. No, that will be difficult to keep switching, right? Okay, then that's fine. Never mind.
That's the thing. That's the thing. We're supposed to share it as a PowerPoint presentation, not as sharing your screen.
Okay.
That's what
It's a
trying to say.
PowerPoint here.
No, you're sharing your screen now. You're not sharing the PowerPoint itself as a PowerPoint.
No, I'm only sharing the window that I'm showing to you guys. Like it's I can go back and it's still showing the same thing. Okay, I get it now.
All right. So do you think you can manage going to the next slide while still talking?
Can you see once again? Right now, are you seeing the PowerPoint or are you seeing Google Docs?
The PowerPoint. The PowerPoint.
Okay, yeah. But I'm on Google Docs, so I'm able to kind of do both. That's what I want to check.
All right, good.
So we'll start. It's 2 o'clock now.
We'll wait,
Has
I think,
everyone
till more
joined?
people join, yeah? We'll wait a bit more
Okay.
till everyone joins.
Also, if there's any difficulty in presenting while doing this, you can open your script on your phone. It'll to make things easier.
It's fine on my side, but are you having any difficulties?
No, it's fine now.
Okay, can you make it like share it as a slideshow, please? Just
Yes.
can you share it as a slideshow, please?
Wait, let me just check.
No, the bottom icon right next to the plus and minus.
I'm sorry, I didn't get what you mean.
It's fine. I'll share instead.
Okay.
Can you guys see the screen?
Hi, Majd. Yes, we can.
All right, perfect. All right, should we wait till 2:05 and then start? What do you guys think?
Because the thing is, if you just share the Google Docs, then they're just going to join without actually having like
Hello guys, welcome to everyone here. We are just waiting till 2:05 so that more people can join. People are still joining. All right, guys, so we are starting. Assalamu alaikum, everyone, and good afternoon. We are so excited to see such an enthusiastic interest in the Model United Nations. So let's do a formal introduction. I am Majdi Nizar Ali. I am a third-year international relations student, and I'm also the vice president of the MUN Club. And Narjis here is my co-host. She is a freshman in
alaikum.
international relations. Today, we will be taking you into the world of MUN together, and we will explore the exciting bits and demystify anything that seems intimidating. Now, this semester, the US is hosting its first ever MUN conference under the MUN Club. This workshop will basically help you prepare for the upcoming conference and broaden your understanding of the rules of procedure. We will begin today's workshop with an introduction on Model United Nations and the UN. We will then talk about some basic terms you need to be familiar with, and then we will move on to the rules of procedure and the committee flow, and we will end with a Q&A session. So if any of you have any doubts during the workshop, please type your questions in the chats and my colleagues will accumulate them for the Q&A session at the end. So let's begin. United Nations Conference, commonly known as a Model UN or an MUN, is an activity in which participants role play as United Nations delegates by imitating UN committees. At an MUN conference, you will have the opportunity to strengthen and increase your research, your public speaking, and your debating and writing skills, as well as your critical thinking, teamwork, and real leadership skills. This clearly makes Model UN a very beneficial activity to participate in. Not only do you get to practice a variety of different skill sets, but you also get to learn about the current events, international relations, and national and foreign policies in a fun and interactive way. I would like to begin the discussion on the history of the UN with a quote by Harry Truman. You, members of this conference, are to be architects of a better world. In your hands rests our future. So, what is the UN and how did it come to be? Very briefly, the UN is an intergovernmental organization that was founded in 1945 to promote world peace and maintain international security. It was formed after World War II, where the League of Nations failed to maintain peace. At the time, several countries of the world came together, they drafted and they signed the UN Charter. By October 1945, the Charter came into force and the UN began operations. I will now pass the mic to my co-host Narjis, who will tell you about the UN's purpose and its principal organs.
Assalamu alaikum. It's very nice to see all of you. The UN's principles, purpose, and targets are outlined in its charter. The UN's four major purposes are to maintain international peace and security, to develop friendly relations among nations, to achieve international cooperation in solving international problems, and to be a center for harmonizing the actions of nations in the attainment of these common ends. The UN has six principal organs. Majidleen? The General Assembly, this is the main and deliberative policymaking organ of the UN. It is composed of representatives from all member states, each of which has one vote. The Security Council, which is responsible for maintaining international peace and security. The Economic and Social Council, or ECOSOC. It oversees the economic, social, and environmental issues of the United Nations. The Trusteeship Council, which administers the trust territories under UN supervision. The International Court of Justice, this is the principal judicial organ of the UN. The court is charged with settling legal disputes between states and giving advisory opinions to the United Nations and its specialized agencies. The Secretariat, this is the administrative and operational arm of the UN. And initially, the United Nations had just 51 member states. Today, with its headquarters in New York, the United Nations has 193 members. Some of the basic terms. Majidleen, can you help us with that?
So moving on to the most basic terms of UN conferences. Most of these terms are specific to MUNs only, so you most likely will not hear them in day-to-day life. However, you are expected to be very familiar with them for the MUN conferences. Here are some of the most commonly used terms that you should be familiar with before the conference begins. Now, a delegate is an individual who represents a specific country. All participants of Model UN conferences are considered to be delegates. The country assigned to you by the Secretariat is the one that you will represent during your committee sessions. So, for example, if you are assigned Bolivia, you will be the delegate of Bolivia. A committee is another basic term that you should be familiar with. In the UN, different committees discuss various kinds of global issues. For example, the United Nations Human Rights Council, the UNHCR, addresses topics relating to human rights and their abuses and/or violations. The agenda is a topic that is up for discussion and debate in a committee. The agenda of a committee is released before the conference begins, and delegates are expected to be well researched on the agenda as well as related topics before appearing for the committee sessions. Next is the executive board. The executive board. This refers to the group of people who moderate the MUN conference and the committee sessions. Typically, in a MUN conference, the executive board consists of a chairperson and a vice chairperson. Now, the position paper is a document in which the delegate provides the official stance of the nation they are representing on the set agenda. It is submitted before the committee sessions begin, and it should state the nation's overall opinion on the matter and the steps they have implemented and plausible solutions with relation to the agenda. Position papers are typically only a page or two and are an important part of preparing for the conference. We will also be giving out special certificates on the day of the MUN conference for the delegates with the best position paper and the delegates with the best speaker. So do your best in preparing your position papers. Now, a draft resolution is an official document that is written and structured by the committee, stating its position on a topic of an agenda, as well as recommendations for action. A resolution is the final product of a committee's formal debate on the agenda or on a topic. Now, some of the basic rules and things that you should keep in mind is that if you want the chair to recognize you, you should raise your placard, which you will be provided with, and wait for the chair to acknowledge you. A placard will basically have the name of the country that you are representing and the flag of the country you are representing. Secondly, you cannot use personal pronouns, as is informal and non-diplomatic. For example, you will use pronouns such as we, that is fine, but saying me or I or you, that cannot be used. Instead, you would refer to yourself and others as the delegate of Bolivia, the delegate of Egypt, etc. Also, you will not be using any slang and always try to be respectful. Another very important point to mention is the language used by delegates. Firstly, your language should be formal but understandable, And again, personal pronouns cannot be used. Don't worry about thinking that this is too overwhelming, because I'm pretty sure you will get used to it very quickly. And secondly, you should try to be as diplomatic as possible, regardless of which nation you are assigned to represent. And thirdly, please do not take anything personal. In MUN community sessions, you are not Majdoleen or Nerjis or Asmao. You are the delegate of Egypt or Bolivia or Colombia, etc. So try not to take anything too personal. And again, you're only representing the country, so the country's views do not directly reflect your own views. I will pass the mic again to Nerjis to discuss the rules of procedure.
When it comes to the rules of procedure, again, taking from Majleen what she said about language, uh, English will be the only official working language. So whether you're giving a speech or you're presenting a document, it has to be in English. And this also includes when we'll have like an informal debate, the unmoderated caucus, which we'll get to that. Even if it's an informal debate, you have to still be speaking in English, and you cannot be using slang and everything. And you have to be courteous, and all the delegate staff and secretary members should be speaking respectfully with the other members of the conference. Discrimination in any form will not be tolerated in the MUN. The chair and secretariat members have the authority to remove any delegate from the conference who is not acting respectfully. The delegates are also encouraged to report any incidents that might occur during the conference. Now, when we come to the roll call, this is very important. The chair will first proceed with the roll call, and during the roll call, you can respond with either present or present voting. So if I say delegate of China, and the delegate of China will say present or present voting. So if you say present, it means that you can abstain from voting for like any substantial matters, such as the draft resolution. I know this sounds very complex right now, but I promise you, it'll be very easy when you actually start doing it and you see it in action. Okay, and when it comes to setting the agenda should be the first matter that's discussed in the committee session, right? And a motion will be raised. So a motion can be made to put a topic area first on the agenda. So how to set the agenda? It's basically the delegate of like for example, delegate of China would like to raise a motion to establish the agenda as whatever you want to discuss first. Now moving on to the real deal, the committee flow.
All right, so the committee flow starts with the pre-conference research. So this starts weeks or days and hours before the conference. You should be researching on the given committee and agenda, especially with regards to the nation you are assigned to represent, and its prior and current advancements on the topic at hand. An important aspect of MUN conferences are motions. Now, in an MUN conference, nothing can start or end without a motion. Every motion must be voted on, and a motion cannot be passed without a majority vote. Now, MUN sessions typically start with a GSL, also known as the General Speakers List. The General Speakers List is where delegates should be first recognized by the chair to speak. And during this time, delegates may speak generally regarding their country's stances on the topic. The speeches are supposed to be short and straight to the point, but also expressive. The delegates can be questioned by fellow delegates if the time permits. And now, can you raise a motion to establish the general speakers list? You would say, first of all, you would raise your placard, you would wait for the chairperson to acknowledge you, and then you would say the delegates of your country would like to raise a motion to establish the general speakers list. Now, here are some tips to focus on when making or delivering a general speakers list. Number one, you should focus on the issue that matters to the country allocated to you, how that relates to the topics to be debated at the conference, and your speech in the GSL will be the first impression you give. So keep that in mind. And your speech should, again, be short and straight to the point. So approximately, it should be around a minute or two long, so 150 to 200 words would be great. Other than the GSL, delegates can also raise a motion for a moderated or an unmoderated caucus. Firstly, right after the GSL, the chair will open the floor and the delegates can motion for the opening of a moderated caucus. Now, this means that the delegates needs to state the topic, the individual speaking time, and the total time when proposing a motion for a moderated caucus. For example, you could say the delegate of South Sudan motions to open a moderated caucus to discuss the topic of X for a total time being 45 minutes, let's say, and individual speaking time being 3 minutes. So the chairs can approve or disapprove this motion based on whether the topic is related or unrelated to the agenda. Now, the delegates who proposed this motion has the right to state if they want to be the first speaker or the last speaker of the moderated caucus. Another point to mention is that during the moderated caucus, delegates cannot raise a motion for an unmoderated motion to finish, and then you can pass a new motion either for a moderated caucus or an unmoderated caucus. And some tips to keep in mind when making or delivering a moderated caucus speech is to make sure not to exceed your time. Because as we said, when you motion for a moderated caucus, you are setting the individual time and the total time. So we have to make sure not to exceed that time limit. And you should also be very direct in your speech and try to give solutions to the topic that you are talking about. Now, when the floor is open for motions, delegates can motion for an unmoderated caucus, which is the other type of motion. Now, for this type, the total time should be stated, but the topic and the individual speaking time is not needed. So basically, it is a more informal version of the moderated caucus. So how do you raise this motion? You would say the delegate of Senegal raises a motion for a total time of, let's say, 30 minutes for an unmoderated caucus. Again, the chair has authority to approve or disapprove the motion, depending on whether it relates to the debate or not. And an unmoderated caucus can actually be extended. So let's say you set the time first as 20 minutes, and then by, let's say, 15 minutes, you realize we actually need more time. So you can extend that time. And in general, like I said, this is way less formal than the moderated caucus, and you can actually move out of your chair and walk around the conference room, talk to different delegates, draft resolutions. So this unmoderated caucus is actually very, very valuable for the drafting of resolutions, because delegates can actually speak without formal request from the chairs. You don't have to raise your placard every time you want to speak. This unmoderated caucus allows you to basically be free to roam around the room, talk to different delegates. Again, you also have to remain respectful, but the main difference is that it is less formal. Now, let's just give a quick summary on how to raise a motion for a moderated and an unmoderated caucus. For a moderated caucus, you will mention the topic that you will be discussing in the motion, the total time in minutes, and the individual speaking time in minutes or seconds. And for the unmoderated caucus, you do not need to mention the topic or the individual speaking time. All you need to mention is the total speaking time, and you can also extend this. I hope this is very clear to you. If you have any more questions, please put them in the chat and we will address them when we move to the Q&A session. I will now pass the mic to Narjis again, who will be talking about resolutions and points.
When it comes to writing resolutions, we will form political alliances based off, maybe it's based off geography, like countries, that neighboring countries, or it can also be based off like political alliances. So we'll form these blocks. Blocks are basically groups. It's like a group project, but in a UN setting. So these political alliances are formed. Delegates will document the resolutions discussed in the committee. So the whole point of an MUN conference is that you have to find resolutions for the agenda discussed. So if we're talking about climate change, the point of the session is that all of the countries together have to reach consensus, and consensus is agreement, basically. And it might be that countries have differing views, but in the end, they have to have a draft resolution, a document where all of the countries have kind of come to a consensus, right? So so we'll find in moderate caucus and unmoderate caucus, first will be to debate the resolutions. So and then it will be to write the resolutions. And after you've written the resolution, we'll again have, after they have been submitted to the chair for review, the committee will make speeches for and against the resolutions, because there will be countries that disagree with your resolution and there will be countries that are for it. Points. A point is a question that is raised by the delegate about the resolution or about the committee, etc. And they can be raised to the chair or to the delegates who are speaking, who have the floor. Point of personal privilege. So during the discussion of any matter, a delegate may raise a point of personal privilege, and the chair can immediately address the point. The point refers to the comfort and well-being of the delegate. So when it is a point of personal privilege due to like audibility, like I can't hear what's happening in the conference. Uh, so it can be, then you can interrupt the speaker and you can ask. But it cannot refer to the content of a speaker's statement. It's not a point that is debatable, and it doesn't require any other delegate to second it. The chair may refuse to recognize the point of personal privilege if the delegate has not shown proper decorum, proper restraint, or if the point is unnecessary. An example for this is if I was delegate and I said, point of personal privilege, could the air conditioning be turned on? As it's warm here, something like that. Then when we come to the point of order, during the discussion of any matter, a delegate may raise a point of order and the chair can immediately consider the request. And a point of order must relate to the rules and the procedure of the committee or to the way that the chair is using his power or her power. Delegate raising a point of order may not speak on the substance of the matter under discussion. The chair may refuse to recognize a point of order if the delegate has not shown proper restraint again. So basically what we're saying is anything you need in the conference has to be approved by the chair, right? So behave. Yeah. So if I say point of order, can the floor be yielded to delegate of Japan? Because the delegate of Japan wants to speak, right? The next is point of parliamentary inquiry. So this is a question about the rules in general. It can refer to anything that doesn't pertain to the rules of procedure or offense privileges. Like it can be a question or clarification on the issue that's being debated. So if I say, if there's something being discussed and you don't know about it, you can ask point of parliamentary inquiry. Could the chair explain when this treaty was signed? Or like if the delegate's speaking about it and you're not sure about it, you want to confirm something. Okay. Point of information. A point of information is raised when a delegate wants to ask a question to another delegate once that delegate is done with their speech. Remember, when you ask your point of information, you have to remain standing. That's like a mark of respect. So it is a question that's directed to the delegate who has the floor, who is speaking, and it's about that delegation's view or about the speech that that delegate has made. And this point of information has to remain relevant with the speech that the delegate has just made. And as a proper POI, can bring about a very heated and controversial debate with regards to the agenda. Can we go next? Yes. Okay, wait. Before we get to that, when we come, there's also like a follow-up, which is basically a reply to the point of information. So imagine we talked about the GSL, right, which is the general speakers list, the speech. So if a delegate has made a speech and they have disrespected your country, your delegation, so you will raise a point of information to question them, and then there's a follow-up that is a reply to that, where the receiving delegate will clarify their position, and this is known as the right to reply. Okay. And again, you can also reply once more until the chair has agreed that that should be the end of that discussion. And how do you raise points? Again, by raising your placards. And placard is just, I'm sure Micheline has already explained what it is. It'll have your name and the country and the flag on it. You raise your placard and you ask when you're recognized by the dais, by the secretary or by the chair, and then you will state your point. You'll say point of personal privilege or point of order. When it comes to appealing to the chair's decision, an appeal is made when a delegate feels that the chair has made an incorrect ruling. When you feel like the chair is biased or the chair is not aware of the rules, the delegate formally challenges the chair in writing by sending a note to the dais, moving to appeal the chair's decision. The appeal will be taken to the Deputy Secretary General, who will decide if the appeal will be considered. Once the motion is acknowledged, the Deputy Secretary General will hear from both the delegate and the chair for making a decision. So if the chair has made some unfair ruling, you can write a note, which you can give to one of the members of the executive board, and that will reach the Secretary General, who will listen to both the chair and the delegate and make a decision regarding it.
All right, thank you so much, Nargis. And we will now open the floor for any questions. While we gather all the different questions that we have, one of my colleagues will share the link for the certificates for attending this workshop. We actually have one question for you, Nargis. What is a point of parliamentary inquiry?
The point of parliamentary inquiry is for the rules in general. It doesn't have to necessarily do with it doesn't have to necessarily do with another delegate's speech or anything like that. It is about like the privileges of the delegate and about like if I it's to explain basically any queries that you have that are not directly related to another delegate's speech or about the chair. It's like I can give you another example. When we're talking about climate change, for example, the Paris Agreement is one of the main things. You're expected to do your research, by the way, but there might be something that's very vital to the discussion, and you feel out of the loop. You don't know exactly what it is. You can raise a point of parliamentary inquiry and ask the chair to explain to you about the Paris Agreement, for example. When was the Paris Agreement signed? Which this is a very basic example, and you are expected to do your research on all of the basic stuff. Yeah. Any other questions?
We have another question by Muhammad Nargis. He is asking if he is asking what points should be raised if the delegation or a country was insulted. Could you please repeat that? The same question by Nasser. They're talking about if delegates are disrespectful or if a country was insulted. Which point of order would that be?
That will be a point of information. It's this is the point of information is raised when a delegate wants to ask a question to another delegate once that delegate is done with his speech. So this is usually very common during the GSL. If the delegate of Saudi Arabia, for example, has said something against the delegate of the United States. So United States will raise a point of information. And you have to remain standing as a mark of respect. And then once that the delegate has finished their speech, you will ask, basically you will ask whatever question you have. And then the delegate of Saudi will have the chance to reply to the delegate of the United States. And this is the follow-up right to reply kind of thing. So just once again, if you want to address a question to another delegate because of something they said, that is a point of information.
All right, we're going to come back to the rest of the questions, but before we do that, I'm very aware of the fact that all of this that we discussed in the workshop today, it can be very overwhelming. So to help you guys stay on track of everything, I've shared with you a PDF that me and my co-host have prepared. And basically, I'm sharing it right now. I hope you can see my screen. It basically covers everything that we have covered in this workshop. So you can go back to it whenever you want. You can revise anything that you need, any basic rules, basically the points that you should raise, how to raise the points, how to raise a motion. All of that is covered in this 3-page guide that I have shared with you in the chat right now. And my colleague Anud has just also posted the certificate link in the chat. So please make sure to sign into that and fill in your information for a certificate. We have one more question by Khadija. What is a TSL?
GSL?
You mean GSL? I think you mean GSL. Okay, I will answer that question for you. Basically, a GSL is the general speakers list. Now, this is the first thing that we will have in the committee sessions. It is basically when different countries will, it's basically an introductory session that will happen. Every country will come up and give a very basic introduction on the stance of the country that they are representing relating to the topic that we have at hand. So no resolutions are drafted at this point. This is just the very, very basic introduction. You will give the stance of your country so that everyone else that is in the room with us will be aware of what the stance of your country is. I hope that makes it clear for you.
Think of it as an opening speech.
Yes, exactly. It is an opening speech. Yes, I will share the PowerPoint also on the MUN US group. Actually, I can share it here as well. Give me a second. I will send it to you guys right now. All right, and we have another question. So someone asked us to basically recap what will happen in the sessions themselves. So again, like I mentioned, there will be different motions. The very first motion will be the general speakers list, which, as we and Nergis explained, is going to be an introduction. Every delegate will come up. They will speak about their position, the position of their country on the topic. After that, we can raise a motion. So this motion will be, for example, a moderated caucus, let's say. In this moderated caucus, like I said, let's actually open this guide that I prepared for you so you know what I'm talking about. So when it comes to the motion for, see, here I said, the general speakers list is going to be the very first thing that we're going to talk about in our sessions. Then is going to be the moderated caucus and unmoderated caucus. Like I said, this can actually be raised by the delegates themselves. So the chairs, for example, will be me and Nergis, and we will not be the ones saying, okay, now let's move into a moderated caucus. Now let's move into an unmoderated caucus. Instead, it will be you guys, the delegates, who will raise a motion for that. So let's say you will raise a motion for a moderated caucus. In that moderated caucus, the delegates that want to speak in it will raise their placards. We will note down all the delegates that want to speak in this motion, and we will give each one the time that they are allocated. After this motion is finished, you can raise a motion for another moderated caucus or an unmoderated caucus. I hope that is clear to you. And then when it comes to drafting resolutions, which will be the very last thing that we will do, this is basically the main aim of MUNs. So why are we actually doing this? Why are we debating different topics? Why are we trying to come up with solutions? Because we believe that international cooperation is the way to solve global problems. That's why if you look at different topics that are mentioned in MUNs, they're mostly global problems that need global resolutions. So we will come together as all the different countries of the committee session, and we will draft resolutions together. Of course, you are not, there's not one resolution that can basically satisfy all countries. That is very idealistic. So that's why we have different debates on different resolutions. So you as delegates, you can accept a resolution, you can reject a resolution, you can edit a resolution. All of that will take place in the sessions that we have. And again, for each one of these motions, you can raise either unmoderated caucus or a moderated caucus. There are more questions in the chat, so let me see. Can you share the PowerPoint with us? I just did. Please check if you can access it. We will be assigned the country you represent. Yes, you will be. We will assign you countries. Specifically, the delegate coordinators will assign each person a country, and this is the country that you will basically do your research on. This is why we needed the workshop to basically make sure who is attending and who is not attending. And you guys should have received the document, the Google Doc where you filled in your names. So that Google Doc is going to be a reference to us for who is actually participating with us and who is not. So we will share the countries as soon as possible so that you can start working on your position papers. And when do you have to submit your position papers? So, okay. So I'm pretty sure all of you know, but our MUN conference is next weekend, 11th and 12th of November. And you'll have to submit your position papers before that. So on the 10th of November is when you should be submitting your position papers. I will make it very clear on the main group how the submission will take place, but the due date for the submission is the 10th of November. I will also write that in the chat.
Also, just to be clear, this week you can use it to research on the agenda, which is the topic that we're discussing, to discuss on your country, which you will be assigned what your country's stance is regarding the agenda, who your allies are, who your enemies are. That's always something you should know going into something like this. And again, you need to start working on your position paper. But don't worry, the position paper is just going to be 1 page or 2 pages maximum. You're not expected to write a lot, but it is expected to be concise and coherent. And again, I think we will be like giving you kind of a sample position paper.
All right, let's see if there are any more questions. What is the uniform code? If you mean the dress code, you are basically expected to dress formal. Does not have to be a suit, but preferably a suit. I'm pretty sure you have seen how people normally dress in UN conferences. So as I said, because we are trying to imitate a UN conference, try to dress as formal as possible. And yeah. When you say, yes, there's another question by Nasser. When you say majority, is it 2/3 majority or 51% majority? Okay, about this. So yes, you're allowed to wear abayas, of course. Of course, abayas are allowed. So are kandoras. Yeah, so let's go back to Nasser's question. He talked about majorities. This actually leads me to the topic of veto powers. So I'm pretty sure you all are aware, but in all, can someone mute their mic? One second. Thank you. Okay, so there are 5 veto powers, and in each, and these are the countries that are present in all the committee sessions, no matter if it's a General Assembly, Security Council. These are China, France, Russia, the UK, and the USA. So these 5 veto powers, they actually basically they have more power than normal countries, you know. So if the veto power rejected a resolution, even if a majority country, like majority of the countries, let's say even 80% approved it, if the veto powers did not, then the resolution cannot be passed, you know. So when it comes to majority, like I said, there's different biases based on the veto powers. Yes, like Asma said, everyone is welcome to dress formal or the traditional clothes of the country they're assigned. Nasser asked, will we only be doing General Assembly or other UN branches? Good question. So basically, like I said, we are still in our very first MUN session of UOS, which, by the way, is an amazing thing to say. I'm so proud that we are having the first MUN conference in UOS. Because it is the first one, it is going to be very small scale. So we will not have the capacity to basically have 6 different community sessions happening at the same time. Maybe this will be the case for next year or the next semester, inshallah. But for now, we will have a maximum of 1 or 2 community sessions based on the number of people that are joining us. So actually, there is something I need to share with you. There is this Google Doc, which I'm pretty sure you have seen. People have, this is basically the main Google Doc that you have to fill in if you want to actually participate in the MUN conference on the 11th and 12th of November. So if you see your name here, basically you have to show up for both days. If, for example, you changed your mind, you don't think you'll be able to make it, please go back to the document and remove your name, or I will actually share the document with you right now in the chat. All right. So based on the number that we have, we will have basically either 1 session or two sessions happening in the same time. The 2 topics that me and my colleagues are thinking of doing are climate change, number 1, and number 2 would be refugee crisis. So based on that, we will decide whether it's going to be the Security Council or another council, which we will have. Yes, so if you would like to register and you are very serious about it, you know that you will show up for both days for all the sessions, write your university ID and your name and your nationality on the MUN Association participants document that I've just shared with you right now. Let me just go back to the questions. What is the timing on the day? So I will type that also. It's going to be the 11th and the 12th of November from 10 a.m. till 3 p.m. We will share also a very detailed agenda of the day, like what's going to happen from 10 to 11 a.m., to 11 to 12 p.m., etc. We will share that with you as soon as possible. But as a general idea, it's going to be the 11th and the 12th of November from 10 a.m. till 3 p.m. I have wrote that in the chat right now. Let's see the other questions.
Also, tell your friends, spread this around. It'll be a lot of fun, especially to do it together. So get people interested. Share the socials. We have an Instagram page for MUN UOS, and hoping to see all of you there. Everyone that has attended, I would love to see all of you there.
Hello guys.
We have one more question. Asma.
Okay.
Can we get the chance to have countries with the veto power? Yes, of course. So in each committee session that we have, 5 people will be assigned the 5 veto powers of China, France, Russia, UK, and USA. So it might be you. Who knows? All right. While Asma
I'm
connects,
seeing
we
a
have another
question.
Yeah, if a
Wait,
delegate
I'm
takes a
seeing a
position opposite to what the country that he is representing, can other delegates point it out? Of course, because this means that the delegate is not well researched. Like I say, I said we have to be respectful towards other delegates, of course, but you can also point out if they made a mistake. This delegate's information is wrong. You can say that in a respectful way. When is the last day to register? It's today. Today's the last day. When this session ends, we will have the document done. Yes, Asma, go ahead.
Can you please answer the question again, because you cut off for a few seconds.
Oh, for which question?
The last one, the one about the delegate. I'm not sure if they heard everything you said.
Nasser's question?
Yes.
Yes. So if a delegate takes a position opposite to what the country that he is representing, can other delegates point it out? As I said, yes. Yes, other delegates can point out if a delegate is basically not being truthful to what his country is actually representing. Like I said, let's say, for example, I was assigned France, but let's say I, as a person, don't actually agree with all the policies of France. I will still have to, as the delegate of France, I will have to, everything that I say and do has to represent what France as a country represents. So let's say if I didn't want to do that, and if I represented something or said something that France doesn't actually agree with, other people can point that out. Of course, still in a respectful way, but you can point it out. And same thing, numbers, wrong percentages. If I mention something that is wrong and you know that it is wrong, you can raise a point and mention that. What points he has to raise to address the misinformation? All right.
Point of information.
Question.
For this,
to
answer like. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Narjis. It's okay.
Yes, to answer that question, the same as Majleen said, but you have to raise the point of information. But if you are in an unmoderated caucus, if it's not like a formal debate, then you don't have to wait for the chair to acknowledge you. You can go ahead and say that they're saying the wrong thing. And this is why research is important, especially to know who your allies are. Like, for example, the USA and China are not friends. But if the students who are representing USA and China are friends, they will not be allowed to be in the same political bloc, for example. And they will not, chances are they will not have the same views. So you should be very aware of where your country stands.
Okay, so Dima actually asked, I believe it is a point of order. So let me just make this clear, because I do understand that the points sometimes can be confusing. So a point of information. A point of information is, let's say, Narjis has just finished. Oh, see, again, I made a mistake. I'm not supposed to refer to her as Narjis. Let's say the delegate of China has just finished her speech. And I feel like there was something wrong with the speech. And I want to ask a question regarding that speech. Let's say I want to ask, where did you get your source from? Or I want to ask her to elaborate on a specific topic. I would use a point of information. Can you guys see the document that I'm sharing right now? Okay, perfect. So as you can see, the point of information here would be used to ask another delegate, for example, a question after the delegate concludes their speech. So this would, again, have to be approved by the chair. You will raise your placard and then be approved by the chair. When it comes to a point of order, for example, so a point of order is, I would say, more urgent. So a point of order would be, I guess, I would have a higher chance of the chair approving it because it is more urgent. That, as it says here, the chair shall immediately consider this request. So, for example, let's say the delegate himself is noticing that the chair is not being completely objective. They're being a bit biased towards a specific delegate. You can actually raise a point of order and raise that, that point. Any more questions?
Majdaleen, if I may, just the easiest way you can think of it is point of information is if you want to address another delegate. Point of personal privilege is if you want to talk about yourself, like if you want to use the washroom, if you want to turn off the air conditioning, something like that. If you want to be excused from the committee for some emergency. Point of order is regarding the rules of the committee, regarding how the chair is following the committee procedure, if the chair is making a mistake. Parliamentary inquiry is it's an inquiry. Think of the word inquiry. It's a question you have regarding something that's being discussed in the committee. And also, it can also be about the rules, like the rules, as in like part of parliamentary inquiry. Did we say that the moderate caucus would be for 30 minutes, or or is it for 25 minutes? Something like that. Is that clear? If there's any more questions, please ask.
Something else that I want to highlight again, because some people still they're a bit confused about the point of order. So let me give you an example of something that can be used as a point of order. Let's say, so for example, in this workshop, we discussed several rules that, we have to apply in MUN committee session. As a delegate, other delegates are not following these rules, but the chair is not addressing them. You can raise a point of order and say, for example, the rules are not being followed, etc., etc. You can raise, this is what a point of order. It's basically relating to it's basically if you want to bring the attention of the chair to something that they have not realized, because like we said, if you feel like the chair is overlooking something specific, for example, let's say, if a delegate is being basically not following a specific rule and the chair has not said anything about it, you can recognize that this is, I guess, a violation of some sort of rule. So that would be a point of order. I really hope that answers your question, Dima. Let me know if you are still confused about it.
There's also like if for example the general speakers list, after all delegates are supposed to speak, but if someone is missed out, like the chair forgot to call a specific delegate to speak, you can raise a point of order and say the delegate of China has not done the GSL yet. So the chair will listen to that. Is that clear?
She said yes, thank you. You're welcome, Dima.
Hi everyone. If that's all, I would like to speak on something. So my name is Isma'u and I'm the president of the MUN. I just wanted to emphasize that if you sign up, it is very important that you show up for both days and for both sessions on both days. We're going to have 4 sessions, so that's 2 for each day. You should be able to attend both because it's important. And also, I know you might have questions about why the Palestinian question was taken out. It's because at the end of the day, if resolutions come up and US will have to veto it out, and we'll have to go back home like unsuccessful. The whole sessions and everything wouldn't be successful because at the end of the day, we don't have a solution that we take home with. So that's why we changed the topics to climate change and refugees. For now, we are not sure if we're going to have 2 groups yet, but if we do have 2 groups, then it's going to be climate change and refugees. If we have just 1 group, it's going to be climate change, and there will be just 1 session going on at a time. But if it's 2 groups, because of the number of participants we have already, if we have 2 groups, then we're going to have to make it 2 sessions going on at the same time. And if you have any questions while you're working on your position paper, or just anytime within the week, any question about anything, please make sure to reach out either in the group, the MUN US or MUN conference, preferably the MUN conference group, or just private. You can message me, Asma'u, Majduleen, Nergis, and ask whatever question you have, okay? Thank you so much. And Majduleen, you have anything
Before we
else?
end, I have one more thing. Yes. So I actually would like to share this QR code with you. Now, this QR code is for the main WhatsApp group of the MUN Club. So if you are interested in joining the club, even if you are not taking part in the conference this semester, let's say you have a different event that you have to attend on the 11th or the 12th, and you still want to attend next semester, you will be informed of all the different updates on this group. So if any of you have any inquiries, please join the MUN Club if you're interested. And again, I would like to thank you all for your attention. And if you have any more concerns, please do not hesitate to contact us. As Asma already highlighted, I'm here, Asma is here, Najs is here, and we have also 2 other delegate coordinators who are here to help you. From our side, we would like to also kindly ask you to show the appropriate respect to all the delegates, the secretariat board members, and the executive board members. At the end of the day, we are here to learn, and we are here to try to come up with resolutions, and we are here to have fun. We're trying to learn from this experience. So let's try to be respectful at all times, and also ensure that you abide by all the rules and regulations as the foundation of our cooperation. I've already shared with you the document that has all the summary of the information that we covered in the workshop. So please do go back to it whenever you need to. And with that said, I would like to conclude this workshop by wishing you all good luck with your research, and don't forget to have fun with it, please. Again, please do not hesitate to contact any of the MUN secretariat members with your questions regarding the conference. And thank you all for your attention.
Please answer Nasser's question.
Which one?
Okay.
Ask a question.
Basically, if we have enough delegates to address both of these issues, we will have 2 separate committees. We will have the United Nations Security Council to discuss refugee crisis, and we will also have the UNFCCC, United Nations Forum for Climate Change, right? And but this depends on how many delegates we have. So maybe it'll be one or it'll be both. We'll be letting you know. So
I've just got another question on the chat. Apparently, the colleague that was supposed to send the link for the certificate is not there. Has that been shared or not? If not, I will share it right now. Give me a second. All right, my colleague just confirmed that it was sent. Did you guys all receive it? Yes, okay. And keep in mind, there's 2 different Google Docs. One Google Doc is for actual registration for the day of the conference, and the other Google Doc is for the sign up for the certificates of this workshop itself. I hope this is clear.
we will be sharing the PDF, the delegate preparation guide, once more in the group, in case any of you have not received it.
Yes, as well as the PowerPoint as well. All right, so that's it, right? Does anyone have any more questions before we close our session for today?
I want to add, if you don't know how the position paper works and you're afraid about how you're intimidated by it, we will be sharing a sample position paper that you can refer to, just to kind of understand the format.
All right. The detailed agenda as well will be shared in the group. Oh, yes. Okay. So about that,